There are, of course, hundreds of thousands dead now in the United States from the coronavirus. And Donald Trump has been completely silent about that for months, although he is absolutely furious that so many celebrities are going to be performing in the Joe Biden inauguration. It is immoral and inconceivable that this is what Trump is focused on after his failure that led to way more coronavirus cases and deaths than we needed to have. Trump is furious that Lady Gaga will be performing for Joe Biden. Trump is furious that Jennifer Lopez and Tom Hanks are going to be featured at Joe Biden's inauguration tomorrow. Donald Trump is furious that country singer Garth Brooks, who refused to participate in Trump's inauguration, although Brooks said it was merely a scheduling conflict, will be performing for Joe Biden tomorrow. Now, Garth Brooks, listen, I don't know that much about Garth Brooks's politics. I don't know if he's sort of like a Dixie Chicks country artist that is the rare progressive exception to what is a more conservative area of music. I don't know much about Garth Brooks. I don't know that I believe it was merely a scheduling conflict 4 years ago and that now he's doing it to unite the country, as he says. Maybe that's the case. Maybe scheduling conflict is just an excuse. But in any case, Trump is furious, and Trump is furious about the A-listers who shunned him. And he's furious that now they are going to perform for Joe Biden. And I think that the story here really is I don't really care about the performances, I think is the point. What I care about is the following. It appeared during Donald Trump's campaign, and it was proven during Donald Trump's presidency, that Trump has only ever cared about himself. The riots are a perfect example. Trump never cared about the rioters as supporters. I said this last week. When the rioters had the House and Senate cleared and delayed the count of the electoral votes, Trump was pleased because that's what he wanted to see happen. When it became clear that the rioters were appearing, I want to be careful in how I say it, Trump's perception was that the rioters looked low class. Trump was then mad. He never cared about the rioters when they were useful, and he never cared about the rioters when they appeared low class to him and were making him look bad. And then when Donald Trump did that speech saying all of the rioters will be and should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, some people said, oh, he turned on his own supporters. No, he didn't. He never cared about them as anything other than tools useful to him in achieving his political goals. That's it. Full stop. And so that's what this is about. Tragic numbers of coronavirus deaths. At last count, the U.S. has surpassed 400,000 coronavirus deaths. And what Donald Trump cares about is how is the Joe Biden inaugural going to look relative to the Trump inaugural from the standpoint of celebrity participants. Now, lucky for Trump, and I say this sort of tongue in cheek, who really cares about this, but lucky for Trump, Joe Biden is not going to have a national mall filled with supporters because of the virus. Donald Trump, on day one of his presidency, sent then press secretary Sean Spicer out to lie about the size of Trump's crowds. Trump's not going to be able to Trump's not going to have to fight about that because Joe Biden won't have a big crowd because there's a pandemic and Joe Biden is doing the responsible thing. But the lesson here is when it looked like Trump only cared about himself his entire career, when it looked like Trump only cared about himself during his campaign, when it looked like Trump only cared about himself during his presidency, we were right. That's exactly what it was. It's about gathering wealth. It's about inflating his ego and feeding his pride. And something very interesting is about to happen sociologically to the Trump family. Donald Trump and also his children are about to realize how much everybody really dislikes them in the circles they used to run in when he and they start to be rejected from those very social circles. New York City is not a cultural milieu that looks forward to welcoming Donald Trump. They did accept him previously. They're not going to now. And we've seen the New York City signs saying no to Jared and Ivanka. We've seen Palm Beach trying to stop Trump from doing the things he wants to do in moving back to Mar-a-Lago. Half the country is swearing off any of Trump's hotels for life. It is going to be a real awakening here. And of course, Donald Trump is going to blame others. We know that, but it's still going to be something to see. Now, by the way, I don't care about how celebrity stuff relates to what's going on with Trump Biden beyond what it means for the culture of the country. But the Garth Brooks thing really does crack me up, only because Garth Brooks did turn Trump down in 2017, again, saying it was just a scheduling conflict. And now Dr. Jill Biden asked Garth Brooks to play, and he said he's going to. And he put out a statement saying, this is merely a statement of unity. This is not a political statement. I want the country to be united. But Trump, very, very triggered. And I can only imagine what is going to happen as Donald Trump and his family try to get back to normal life. And remember, when you understand Donald Trump's goals of placating his ego and boosting his self-importance, being president and alienating half the country and many of the business and celebrity contacts that he previously hung around with, it's going to be a real awakening. And I expect a very isolated Trump. And the last thing on this, and I want to move on. This goes back to when I was talking about Trump only cares about his supporters as useful political tools and nothing else. The people Trump has spent a life wanting to associate with are the elites in Manhattan, powerful politicians, global leaders and businessmen and this type of thing. Trump has spent a life trying to not be around the people that are the vast majority of his voters. And so it's very interesting that as Trump leaves office, the only people that accept Trump are the people he spent a life trying not to spend time around. Really, sociologically, a very interesting thing. So we'll be with you for the Joe Biden inauguration starting tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. I want to take a very brief break, and afterwards, we're going to talk about what will right-wing media look like for the next 2 years. We have a couple of sort of, I guess I'll call them early signals. We're going to look at some interesting clips. They may be surprising, they may not, depending on how much attention you've been paying or did pay to what right-wing media looked like under President Barack Obama. Quick break, right back after this. One of our sponsors today is Nebbia, the creator of the world's most innovative showerhead. It uses only about half the water that other showerheads do, saving you money, helping the environment, but it's actually a lot more powerful than other showerheads on the market. It has twice the coverage of other showerheads. The water sprays with a ton of pressure. I've been using it in my bathroom at home. I love it. Only took a few minutes to set up, really easy, and it's been a totally different experience than any other showerhead I've used. I can get in and out of the shower way quicker now because of how powerful it is. It only takes a few seconds to get completely rinsed off. So I was actually amazed that it's only using about half as much water. Nebbia also offers a number of shower accessories like shelves and curtains, which match perfectly with the design of the showerhead. The showerhead starts at just $199, but the first 100 people to go to Nebbia.com/Pakman and use code Pakman will get 15% off all Nebbia products.